Welcome to Grumpy Old Men. I'm joined, of course, by Mike and Kev, who are... What are you doing over there?
We're conferring.
You're conferring
on our
can you
respective
just start with children on planes?
I can.
Please?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, people
one.
have said over many, many years, we've all been doing this, that there should really be children-free planes.
Mm-hmm.
There should be adults-only planes, which I'm actually all in favour of, always have been in favour of.
Didn't we come up with a new airline once? What was it? Nuts and fags?
Yeah, I think so.
You could eat nuts and smoke yourself stupid on a plane.
Yeah.
There'd be no children
and
on that plane.
Children. No. And I mean, even when I had children, I would be quite happy to have had a children-free plane so I could go on my own and let them go with their mother.
Yeah.
You know, because I've had plenty of, experiences of actually being the parent of a child on a plane.
Yes.
Which has not always been great, it has to be said.
Especially when they're too small to say, my ears are blocked.
Yeah, exactly right. Or they're too small for a seat and you can't really put them anywhere. I remember having to put my son on the floor once, because he was only a baby, really. But he wouldn't settle on the...
But it is your job as a parent in that small cabin to control your child.
Oh, that's true. And this is what this complaint is about, because this is not about...
The parents
children
just
crying.
let them get on
this
with
is
it.
about, I went to Dubai the other week, and the flight was great, flight coming back was great, but there was one problem, and it was a family. And the guy and the mother, they seemed very pleasant. You know, I could see them chatting away to each other. They had a daughter, they had a son. And the little boy... started making a lot of noise, but then started running up and down the aisle, right? And he wasn't just running up and down the aisle quietly, he was running up and down the aisle and going, like this. Luckily, it wasn't an overnight flight, otherwise he might have been murdered by somebody. But at one point, I did think of sticking my foot out and tripping him up. He was only about 4, right? But his dad just kept saying, stop running. And then he would just keep running backwards and forwards. And occasionally the father would get up and sort of grab him and bring it, told you to stop running. But there was no smacking, there was no kind of, disciplining.
Poking in the eye.
No, nothing. No, tethering him, to the chair, putting a seatbelt on him.
Duct tape.
Just let him continually run up and down. It went on for about 3 hours.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it?
What are people thinking?
But I was on I don't often fly first class, but I did once a few times, to Antigua with some friends.
You're mumbling a bit.
And in the first class
cabin,
there's a mother with her kid. The kid's about, I don't know, 2, 3, still of the screaming age.
Yeah.
Kid starts screaming.
In first?
Yeah. And
that's
some American guy eventually complained.
Yeah.
But, look, kids can be difficult. You guys know this. They can be difficult to control. What I don't like, or what drives me nuts and what I think you're referring to is you get some kid going, really pissing everyone off. And the mother and the father just sit there and don't do anything about it.
And when people get immune to the noise that their children
which you can understand parents sometimes doing, but again, running up and down, that's not something that you can want to... I mean, I would feel uncomfortable if my son was doing that.
No, you'd have to stop.
And I would have grabbed him and sat him down and give him something or talk to him or play with him, do something.
But they're not necessarily...
But this guy just let it go on.
Yeah, they're not necessarily immune to the noise, though. It's just the new parenting, don't say no to your kids, don't chastise your kids. That's what's annoying about it. In the end, this American guy gets up and goes over to the steward and says, look, excuse me, sir, we didn't spend all this money to listen to this brat screaming his head off all the way across. And the guy said, I couldn't have sympathised with you more, sir, but he's paid his ticket.
But if the guy's perfect,
there's nothing we can do about
it. The child had its own first-class seat.
Yeah, these people were rich. Yeah.
That's the problem, isn't it? I mean, some people, I think it's a good idea if you're taking your kids anywhere, is you put them, once they're able to look after themselves, you put them back in economy. If you want to, sit in first class or you want to sit in business, which I think is a good rule.
But I saw completely the flip side of that.
Yeah.
So where this child, I was on a long haul to San Francisco, and this kid was distressed, right? And the mother, who was sitting next to me, got progressively more and more distressed to the point where she actually started to hit the child.
Crikey.
And I actually went, you need to calm down, at which point she then hit me.
Right, oh dear.
And
you hit her?
No.
And it all
she
kicked off.
She did end up cable tied.
Cable tied.
Did she?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's not good.
I mean, I didn't cable tie her personally.
They're quite good at that.
Yeah, they are
quite good at that.
When they go, there's no messing around.
No.
There was a lot of knees in backs and there you go. And you can make as much noise as you like now,
Right.
but we're not letting you up.
Yes. Yes, I think they'd solve a lot of problems if they just had, child-free flights.
Now, when you're on those flights, Kev,
Yeah.
do people still wear masks?
Oh yeah, they do. They do, and they still wear masks everywhere. No one, or many people in this country, probably around the world, but certainly here in London, didn't get the memo that those face masks don't work. They don't make any difference whatsoever to whether or not a virus or a germ can get.
But it
through.
is part of a Gen Z protesting sort of outfit. Now,
Well, no,
isn't
it
the mask?
is. That's right. It is to sort of indicate that you're
protester
woke
kit.
and you're right on and you're virtue signalling kind of a person.
Especially if you're a criminal. They like wearing them as well.
But I think there's that. But it's pathetic. It's pathetic. It kind of denotes an absolute terror of your fellow human beings. You look upon everyone else as if they're someone who can do you harm.
Yeah.
That was the kind
You
of.
are surrounded by walking
But that was
Petri
the
dishes.
That was the exactly right. That was the prevailing feeling that was promoted during the COVID crisis, mostly by our gormless government. But
The last gormless government.
Meanwhile, so why are these people still wearing masks? It's because the long COVID is actually this country still obsessed with this virus that we made such a mess of dealing with. And we've got this COVID inquiry, which isn't inquiring whether or not we should have ever have locked down. The answer to that is no. But they're not asking that. They're asking whether or not we lock down early enough or hard enough. Anyway, this COVID inquiry...
Maybe they're not asking the question because they know the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly
That
that.
could be it.
Don't ask that.
This
Why?
COVID
We already know
Everybody
the
knows the
answer.
answers to
This
that.
COVID inquiry, a year ago, read a report. It was costing over £300,000 a day. Taxpayers Alliance, a couple of weeks ago, did another survey. They said, actually, it's a much better bargain now. It's down to £158,000.
Oh, they're giving it away.
Every single day. Every single day. There are hundreds of people, all these highly paid lawyers, secretaries, court clerks, all wandering around this inquiry, discussing the square root of
Inquiries
sod
are
all.
a good industry, though, aren't they?
They are an industry. They're not a
great-
good industry, they're an industry.
They're an industry, yes. But I think I would say the only area in which I would justify wearing a mask, and this is quite a London-centric thing, would be on the Central Line, purely so I didn't get black bogies.
The Central Line is particularly bad.
It's so bad.
Yeah. The trains are the oldest ones on the network, I think.
But
aren't they?
it's like when you stand on
It's
that...
got a lot of graffiti on it now as well.
Northern Line's the
Although
oldest.
that's dressing it up.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But
But
so it's
the
not-
Central
weird.
Line is crap.
Central
Yeah.
is awful.
But the Central Line in particular has the worst air quality.
Does it?
And that's the only reason for wearing one of those masks, because at least they will catch the dust.
But for your own self-respect, you wouldn't do that.
No, I'll just blow my nose.
I mean, because if you wear a mask, you might as well have a sandwich board on
I saw a
saying, I'm
parking.
a...
I saw a parking
Or
warden.
I'm just disturbed.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw a parking warden wearing one the other day, walking down the street,
Yeah.
just in the open air.
Is it sort of a disguise, just in case he got recognised
Maybe.
out of uniform?
Maybe.
And you see that it's like the COVID hangover. They talk about people who catch long COVID. Well, the nation of Britain has long COVID.
Yeah.
They're still obsessed with
Yeah.
it.
We're all
And
slightly low.
So did you see that all the NHS staff? Because they're still bombarded with saying, "Get another COVID jab, get another COVID jab," and the NHS staff are all saying, "No, we're not doing this
No,
anymore."
it's good business.
Of course, everybody's
business.
making money.
Now, talking of business, something that has come to my attention of late, which is very annoying,
Yeah.
is that loyalty is no longer a reward. You can't get rewarded for loyalty.
There's loyalty cards.
Loyalty cards.
But if you
That's
see, there was a
reward.
whole article the other day about loyalty cards and what they actually get. I mean, it's like, so say for example, you've got your Tesco Club card,
Yeah.
right? So you get a point for every pound
Yes.
that is spent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you get to 250 points,
Yeah.
right? So you've spent 250 quid of them.
Yeah.
You might get a free cup of coffee in one of their.
That's something.
That's a reward.
But it's not. But when
That's
it
a
comes
reward
to
for your
things like-
loyalty.
no, but the whole thing is like, say for example, you get your power from EDF,
Yes.
right? There's no loyalty for you staying with them.
No.
There's loyalty if you switch.
Yes.
So there is a reward for being a turncoat.
Yeah.
But there's no loyalty.
Yes.
for-
First time customers only.
It's like
and all that.
you've got your insurance on your house, right? And you stay with that company for years and years and years. Your premium doesn't go down;
No.
it goes up.
Only goes down if you threaten to leave.
Yeah, exactly. If you threaten to leave, or it goes down if you go somewhere else. Hence the comparisons.
Yes, I've had that with car insurance as well.
It's just that thing of like loyalty used to be something that was rewarded.
Yes.
And it's not anymore.
Right.
And it's dressed up in a kind of fancy with a card or something like this or whatever. It's like, you come to, like Leon, for example, right? If you pay
What, the city?
25... No, the
what
fast food place, right? If you pay them £25...
It's not that posh, is it?
What is
25,
it? What
you've
is
got to
it?
pay them
It's a fast food joint.
to have the loyalty card, but that means...
You've got to pay them.
Yeah, you pay 25 quid, but that means you get 5 coffees a day for free. No, you haven't. You've just paid them 25
You don't
quid.
want 5
Who
coffees
wants
a day.
5
And
coffees
then-
a day for...
And also, the other caveat is you can't have those 5 coffees within an hour of each other.
Oh, so you can't give them to 4 other people.
You can't go, I'll
You
take
can't
all
go,
5 now and I'm off.
So this would
What is this,
entail
some
you
kind of
spending...
weird, like, sort of, camp instructor type fast food?
This would entail you spending...
Can you have the one coffee with the one chicken sandwich?
But it would entail you spending half your life in Leon's,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Well, what
But
are you doing
but the
tomorrow?
whole
I'm going to
thing is,
Leon's.
Yeah, I've got to go back
Got to
for
go
the
back
coffee.
5 times.
But whether it's Nando's or Pizza Express or any of these places, it's now become...
Do you have loyalty cards
No.
at remind me the name of your company?
Home Slice Pizza. 2 sites, Central London, one in Covent Garden and the other one... Sorry?
You can drink as many coffees as you
Harvey
like.
Nichols, is it?
No, not
that's
Harvey Nichols.
Scotland.
The other one is at the Bloomberg building in the city.
Yeah, I thought you might
It's
say
quality
that.
pizza at
is
an
very
affordable
good.
price that just doesn't require your loyalty, just your custom.
Thank you very
That
much.
said,
Very well said.
That said, it's become a kind of thing now that you have to kind of get involved in the game, loyalty, reward schemes, points. I mean,
Yeah. Well, they've actually worked out something quite clever, some of the big supermarkets, which is that instead of giving you points, they give you money off on the day.
Yep.
So, but sometimes it backfires. I mean, I went in to buy a few things the other day, and it said, and I don't have a loyalty card with this particular supermarket, and it showed up, if you did have one, you would have saved 40 pence.
Wow.
And I'm going, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to save 40 pence.
because,
but
I mean-
if, for example, I'm going to buy a bottle of wine and it's 10 quid instead of 12 quid,
That's all
then
right.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
In
When
fact,
it's-
you're buying
when
2.
Yeah, or maybe 6.
When they said so I don't even really know what these things are. So when
Been a long afternoon.
So when the cashier
There's no football.
person says to me, "Do you have a Nectar card?"
Yeah.
I always say, "Do I look like I've got a Nectar card?" I don't even really know what a Nectar card is.
I'll tell you what, it's worse than that. I've got the Nectar thing on my phone.
Have you?
Yeah.
What is
So it's just-
it? What does it
But
do?
what do
a
you
loyalty
get?
card.
Yeah, but
Oh,
what
okay.
do you get for
You
that?
get reduced prices.
Do you?
Yes.
Like how much?
Well, like I've just said, quite often they'll have quite
2
nice
quid off a
2p.
bottle of wine.
2 quid off a bottle of wine.
that's
It's worth
worth
having.
it.
You know, and
Yeah, well,
generally
if it's-
lots of. And now what
That's
they do is
rewarding
they've got,
loyalty.
They've got 2
Yes.
prices now, quite often on a lot of the stuff, and you can
So
see
you've got
that if
your
you've
Nectar
got.
points prior.
So if you got Nectar card, it's cheaper. That's what they've worked out.
But again, what about that? Just that thing of like that customer who keeps coming, who's just like once in a while you just go, do you know what? That bag's you can have
Yeah.
that for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, we're making so much money
Yes.
anyway.
Right.
We don't need to drag you in under the pretense that you
Yeah.
might get a substandard cup of coffee for free
Exactly.
for having spent
Yeah.
$4,000 with them.
Another company that I use quite a bit. Which we don't want to name them all, but they used to have a free cup of coffee if you went in at a certain time. But you go in and there'd be people queuing up for it. And I'm going, it's
Well,
like
you've got all
2
the-
quid.
you've got all the schnorrers in there, your schnorrer
yeah.
hour.
I'm not going to queue up for it.
I've got some dignity.
I need somebody with a top hat handing me a free coffee as I walk in.
And maybe giving your shoes a bump.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Mike, lift etiquette.
Yes. I've noticed lately people behaving strangely in lifts. Right?
Like what?
Well, some people don't know where to look. Right? If you're
Where
in a
should
lift
they
with
be
them.
looking?
Well, I think the lift etiquette, generally speaking, for people who don't know one another, is not to speak.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think you should be speaking to people. But I've had a few experiences recently where
People have spoken to.
All right, so,
spoken.
all right, let's so Mike and Kev, you don't know each other.
Yeah.
You're in a lift.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah, I like that.
That's
It works,
I like
doesn't
that.
it?
Yeah,
It
that
works.
works for me. Yeah.
What you don't do is go, well, seems to be stopping everywhere, this one. You know,
That's right.
which is what I got the other day.
blimey.
Right?
Did you get on it too?
Yeah.
These lifts get slower
Yeah.
every day, don't they?
And of course, I found myself answering it. I went, yeah, it's obviously not the express lift,
Yeah.
right?
And then hating yourself.
Pointless,
Exactly.
ridiculous.
You end up
I don't-
loathing yourself.
You know, and if there's a woman in the lift, obviously it's a slightly different dynamic because you don't.
Hold
wanna-
on. All right. So hold on. So Mike, you're in the lift. Kev,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you're a woman.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not in the lift now.
No, but
Mike's in
now,
No, I'm a woman.
now
You're a
yeah,
woman in the
woman.
lift.
Right.
Now
Okay.
I'm worried now because I don't
Could you
want to
be
do
a bit more feminine?
don't want to do the wrong thing.
Not
No, I don't
really.
want to do the wrong thing. Because you can't make eye contact, obviously that's
Yeah.
wrong. But sometimes you do, just by accident, as they walk in or something.
I mean, you have
and then,
the assessment.
and then you're kind of going, hi, or hello, or, you know, where are you going? You don't say that.
No.
You don't want to do any of that.
No.
How long have you been working here? None of that.
Yeah.
So
You married?
Yeah. Fancy going out.
Yeah.
You know, so there's
Do
a
you
whole...
like sex?
So there's a whole...
Trying that.
there's a whole bunch...
Don't
Try
try
saying
that one,
to
folks.
someone in a confined space. See
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would be good.
No.
But the more people that there are in the lift, the worse it gets.
Yes.
Because sometimes people get in a lift who do know each other,
Party spirit, then.
right? And they get in a lift,
Oh,
and because
they're
they know
chatting.
each other, they're chatting.
Oh.
And so then you're thinking,
Oh, that's toe curling.
you know, I've had situations where I've been in a lift with two women talking, one of them talking about the weekend she just had in Berlin, which was far too much information as far as I was concerned, because some of it was a bit...
Did you
know,
lean in and just go,
I sort of wanted to. I don't want to hear other people's conversations in the lift.
Berlin? What'd you go there for?
Yeah.
what did happen in Berlin, as a matter of interest?
With her.
Well, she went to some very interesting sounding clubs.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there are in East Berlin. That's a very
I'm
good
told,
club scene.
yeah.
Great
Probably on
club
a
scene.
massive come down, God bless her.
Could be, yeah. Anyway, I just think it's an interesting subject because I found myself in quite a lot of lifts.
Yeah.
You know, and clearly some people don't know how to operate in them.
Well, the lifts in this building that we are in,
In this building, for example, where you don't press a button.
you don't have, they are operation-free lifts.
Yes. And also, when I was in a lift recently at Heathrow, having come back, and, you know, to where the car park is, and this woman started talking to me in the lift, said I had a very nice shirt on.
Oh, there you go.
You know,
Cheers.
I was like, thank you very much.
Thanks, yeah.
Was it a nice shirt, or do you think she was just
It was a bit of a
looking
sort
for
of
a way?
holiday sort of,
Was
you
it
know,
holiday?
Hawaiian sort of shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit Magnum PI.
It was a bit, yeah, a bit like that.
I like that.
She was about 80.
Hey, listen, Mike,
Hey, you know, beggars.
you got to take
Yeah.
it where you can.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
listen,
saying.
I think it was the tan.
It
be
could
honest.
The Beckham family feud, Kev. This is horrific.
Well,
It is, though.
I'm so bored of it. It's worse than Ozempic. So, Brooklyn.
I mean, you've really got it into the Daily Mail.
There we have it.
They've got
There's the
nothing else.
headline.
To be
Kev
fair,
says,
the other
the
story they
Beckham's
do.
Fair,
worse than Ozempic.
Yeah, and the Mail does do a hell of a lot of the Beckham family feud, but to be fair, all the popular papers are obsessed with it. I mean, and as an old tabloid man, I mean, I get the story. I'd have been all over it myself when I was showbiz editor of the Mirror and stuff like that. But perhaps not for as long as this, because it's been going on day in, day
How
out.
long
for
has
about-
it been going on?
About
Yeah.
at least 2 months now, and it's every single day.
Did it happen at New Year or something?
Well, it's to do with Brooklyn, who I think is the oldest son.
Yes.
And he's married this woman called Nicola Peltz, who's the daughter of a billionaire. And Nicola Peltz and Posh Spice, Brooklyn's mum, don't get on. And this sort of festering feud has got worse and worse and worse. And now, only recently, a couple of weeks ago, David Beckham, who is, without a doubt, the most boring man who ever lived. He had his 50th birthday.
Bit harsh.
You ever spoken to him?
He seems a very pleasant enough individual.
There doesn't seem anything wrong with him.
I don't even think he's that, but he's very boring.
Do you think he'd talk
It's his
in a lift?
50th birthday.
Yes, I do. He would. He's the sort of guy that would talk to you in a lift.
Oh yeah, and you'd be desperate to get out of the lift as soon as you can. So it was his 50th birthday. And he had about like 20 birthday parties all over the world. And Beckham and Nicola didn't go to any of them. So this was the crystallisation of this schism that's tearing the Beckham family apart.
Christ.
And it's just like, all right, we got it. he doesn't want to talk to his dad or his mum, and he's with his wife. That's it. Can we please?
Have they got kids?
No, they haven't. No.
Okay.
No. But on and on.
So the wives have fallen out.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And apparently, this is an old syndrome that the mum obviously often has problems, cutting the umbilical cord, letting the son go.
You're not good enough for my boy.
Their first son off with this woman. And apparently at Brooklyn and Nicola Peltz's wedding, you do the wedding dance. So he grabs hold of Nicola Peltz and starts for about 20 seconds. And Posh Spice comes charging over, pushes her out the way and starts dancing with her
Well, you
son.
would do that if you were... I suppose.
Was it to a Spice Girls song? Is that why?
I don't know.
Yeah. But you see, that kind of detail, I like that. I like the bits and bobs. But honestly, this story has run out of all steam. There's nothing else.
But the other
to say
reason they
about
like it though is because they reckon that he's like Harry, right? And the wife, the Brooklyn's wife, is like Meghan. That she's basically sort of taken him away from his family and sort of exiled him, isolated him away from all
as the daughter of a billionaire.
Yeah,
she's a self-feeder. She doesn't have to buy. She doesn't have to drink the Kool-Aid.
No,
I think that's another dynamic of this. That the Beckhams aren't too keen on the fact that Brooklyn's wife makes them look like paupers, absolute paupers. Her dad is rich beyond belief, so he's got money that David and Victoria could only dream of. I think they're a bit
because
jealous.
they're only worth 150 million.
They're jealous. Yeah.
Now, do you think her father is grumpy?
Probably.
Yes. Now, this is my argument, because there's people out there say, "Oh, grumpy's bad for you. You won't live as long if you're grumpy or whatever." Some of the most successful and long-lived people are grumpy.
Yeah.
Look at Hugh Grant, for example.
Yeah.
Fantastically grumpy, great career.
Yeah.
And our own Kevin O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Look at that career.
Exactly.
Look at the level of grumpy there.
I know.
It's
He's
phenomenal.
been grumpy for as long as I've known him.
But just don't enjoy
Alan
being
Sugar,
grumpy.
grumpy.
Yeah, but don't.
Alan Sugar, grumpy.
I can't help it. I'm actually not.
But I quite enjoy it.
I'm not
genuinely.
I'm not genuinely putting it on. I mean, I do get grumpy. People are worried when I get grumpy.
Yeah.
Because they think I'm going to start shouting at them.
Well, do you think they get worried if you get happy? That's probably more disturbing.
I think they like it when I'm happy as well, because it's unusual.
That's it.
I mean, I'm quite
It's
happy.
after 2 bottles of wine.
Do they think? Do they go? Is he on meds? What do they say?
No, he's on drink.
No, the people that know me well know that I'm actually quite a happy guy, but I can get very grumpy quite quickly about almost nothing.
Well,
at all.
on occasion I've seen you.
Yeah.
What I can only describe as go for somebody.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I would relish being on the receiving end of that.
Probably not.
That's not necessarily grumpy, though. It could be angry, couldn't it?
No, I don't really get angry though. I just get grumpy.
It's more grumpy.
Angry.
Yeah. As we said before, this programme is called Grumpy Old Men, Not Crazy Old Bastards. But
Well, I could be in that. I could be the star of both shows.
but I do think there is something.
Crazy old bastard.
There is something, there's a release in being
And there
grumpy.
is, no question.
This whole
And I
thing
actually
that's
think
like, you're grumpy, you're going to die. No, I'm not holding on to it.
No, I think actually there's evidence to be the absolute opposite of that.
Yeah.
That if you do
Let it out.
you're actually going to be far healthier.
Better an
somebody
empty
who
house.
sits there, with sort of postal syndrome.
Better an empty house than a bad tenant.
Right, who suddenly turns up with a gun and starts shooting everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
As they never said a
word.
words to anyone.
Never said a word. Well, so there we are. We are providing a public service, as I've said many times before. Stay grumpy.